Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are in the world. Welcome to RCI Mondays, and it's time for another single car championship, and this time with the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. And tonight we are bringing you round 5, the grand finale from Spa, located in Stavelot, Belgium, 7.004 kilometers in length with 20 turns, making it a very long lap in comparison to last week. I'm your lead commentator for tonight, John Dalton. Alongside me is Callum Kerwin, Ryan Gill behind the cameras, and of course next door to us, as always, the live stewards. Welcome everyone.
Thanks, John. Great to be here for another finale here of a RCI Monday series and the Super Trofeos at Spa. As you said, longest lap on the calendar, quite a contrast from Brands Hatch, don't you think?
Yeah, certainly so. It's a very, very long lap as we jump on board here with Nico Kumpu. Down the hill towards Radion and Eau Rouge. Very long drag out of La Source. You want to maximise as much of the exit as you can. Hook it to the left, hook it over to the right. Try and keep it pinned as much as you can as you rise over the crest to begin the long run up the Kemmel Straight. Very, very long run. Once again, indeed, so any momentum lost will be punished as you travel up this long straight. Feels like it goes on forever. Look for the boards on the left. Look for the entry curb. Slam on very hard. Hook it into the right, all the way over the green stuff and back to the left, using a little bit of the green stuff but not a lot, as the curb drops away quite savagely and can really upset the balance of the car. All of the exit curb being used. Nico really maximising track limits here and now, trail braking down the hill, almost a double apex corner, kind of hook it in for the first part, hook it out a little bit more, then back in again for the final part. Now into No Name, very famous for track limits warnings. A couple of years ago at Spa, there were no stewards on site to monitor this corner, shall we say, and drivers took every opportunity they could. And now into Pouan, another double lefter. Be very careful not to overrun the track limits once again. Lots of extra tarmac here at Spa, makes it very easy to, make a mistake and come back on, but if you do so, you may be subject to a few penalties. Now to the right, back to the left. Be careful not to upset the weight of the car on the transition. And now we begin our run into the final sector. Two right-handers again. Lots of exit curb here. You can use all the way up to the line on the gravel before tucking it in nice and tight once again here. I believe we have a livery possibly loading on Ryan Gill's end. Not sure what's happened here. And we are back on the run up to Blanchimont now. Sixth gear, of course, flat in most GT3 cars. Need a small lift, maybe in a Super Trofeo Evo 2. Not driven this car around Spa yet. And now we come up to the bus stop, and I believe Nico Kumpu letting Pedro Marquez go past, so abandoning the first lap on the 256, and Ethan Scotty now coming through, being told by Ryan Gill invalidated. So Pedro Marquez possibly the first one to put a time on the board today, and he does with a 2-minute 20.390.
Yeah, not a bad lap there from Pedro. Again, I wonder how tight the top of the field will be, John, as we've seen at least sort of the 13 to 15 cars within a second of each other. Obviously, a bit of a gap tonight, maybe, with the rather full track map we've got on the right side of your screen, as we have the Pro and Am fields merged for one sort of big conundrum of Super Trofeos at Spa. So I think over 40 cars on the grid for this round.
Yeah, one last huzzah essentially into the finale. Of course, numbers always dwindle off towards the end of the season. People committing to other things, such as Christopher Straper, focusing on the esports side of things for RCI. Then, of course, life sometimes does take over. So, of course, we're not expecting you to be present for every single event. But 40 drivers competing tonight, as you said, Callum, just over 40, I believe 41 now, with Tom Shipston has turned up. We've got, obviously, RPMS regulars, Richard Phillips, Matt Stevens, I believe Hal Manzo is in the field somewhere, and I did see another RPMS driver in practice, so potentially up to 3 or 4 of them tonight, so be interested to see if they work together to see if they can get anything done. Of course, Venti Rachinov, British Master Champion, Tom Shipston, the late joiner in the Silver Champion from the British Masters, and of course many other RCI regulars that you'll probably be spotting up and down the field. And combined splits, of course, making it even trickier than usual, we'll of course have a full breakdown of both championships, but a little rundown of Split 2. We've got Tudor Budu is winning overall in Split 2, however hasn't actually won a race yet, but has just had strong, consistent finishes throughout the season. We have Abdel Dos Ramos in second with a little less consistency in results, but still has managed to obviously put it forwards. This man here on your screen in the 469 coming down into Puon. And Hal Manzo from RPMS had a rocky start to the series, being told by Tim Ireland, but has managed to claw back 2 wins in the last couple of rounds and is currently 3rd overall. Callum Garrigan holding 4th. Martin Broika managed 3rd last race and is sitting 5th in the championship. And round 1 winner Jeroen Weideman is in 6th. And the top 3 have all scored a pole position each. Ramos and Budu have, of course, scored a fastest lap each as well so far. So Split 2 is still all to play for, Callum.
Yeah, it's exciting to see a championship so close. Obviously, we know Split 1 is quite a tight battle up the top there with, I believe, Romaniuk and Rashinov, if I remember correctly, are up at the top of those standings of Split 1, as I've been told. No Lopez in my ear by Ryan Gill, as we see Venci Rashinov currently in 2nd place, 6/10 off Pedro Marquez though, currently coming down the Camel Straight into Lakon, braking, as you say, just on that entry curb on the left-hand side, taking plenty of that AstroTurf on the right. Don't want to take too much on the left though, can upset the car as you're sort of pitching it from side to side, and you really don't want to upset the balance mid-corner, and then the downhill trail brake into Bruxelles towards No Name. As you said, sort of double apex. Some people will just hug the inside there. It depends on the driver's preference here. Obviously, No Name, very tricky corner to get right. Can run out wide, can run up to 2 wheels still on the circuit, but obviously keeping it within the white line as he comes down towards Puon here. So Venci Rashinov looking to close the gap up to Marquez in 1st place. Still quite tight though, or more spread out between the rest of the field though. It seems like we've got a couple of drivers sort of quite a bit faster than the rest at the minute, but as we said, we are only in the first sort of 10 minutes of qualifying. Quicker times usually coming at the end, John.
My mute button is playing up again.
I
really need to fix that. Just panic. It's horrible. Horrible. Apparently I need a new microphone, although it's not the microphone, it's my hotkey to mute and unmute Discord. So yeah. Need to get that looked at for next season. But Venci Rashinov, last time out, of course, took a commanding lead from Pedro Marquez, and Adi Boardman managed to come in 3rd after, of course, Callum last time out. We saw a bucket load of penalties dished out by our live stewards. Jose Jimenez, of course, found some trouble throughout the race and spent most of the majority of his time fighting back to eventually claim 9th. And the championship is, of course, all still to play for in Split 1 as well, as Venci Rashinov stops the car on pit straight, returns to the garage, possibly for a new set of Pirellis. 0.285 to find on Marquez, so looking super tight at the top. And this man here, Tudor Budu, who is leading the Split 2 championship at the moment, currently on his fastest lap as he comes towards the latter half of the stage. Coming up the hill, we've got Benjamin Schumann there, I believe, in the Lion Bar car, moving way out of the way, allowing him through in the 624. Now Blanchimont, can he keep it within track limits? Great camera angle above there, looks very on the limit indeed through there, but the time is still valid on the board as he comes now down to the bus stop. Got to hook it over to the right and then switch it back to the left. It doesn't look too aggressive on the steering inputs, nice and smooth through the bus stop, using all of the exit and some more as he comes to the line. A small improvement, finds himself up in P5, and this is what we're gonna see tonight, is a lot of these AM guys, we say AM, should we say Split 2, Split 2 guys are gonna have some, untapped pace that we've not seen on the broadcast, and proved exactly there with Tudor firing up into P5. He's gonna essentially be mixing it now with the Split 1 guys, and of course there is no rule on fighting. If Tudor wants to defend that position, he is more than entitled to, Callum.
Yeah, I mean, he's got quite a few cars in between him and the next fastest AM car now. All the pros behind him, so really interesting to see the the battle between them as we see Carmona here coming up to the line, currently sitting in 29th place. Is there going to be any improvement? No, not that I believe so, or it's so slight that he doesn't manage to move up a position. But yeah, quite a few drivers quite a fair way off the pace. Sort of some of these split two guys obviously sitting a bit slower, but you've got people like Lopez Garcia currently not setting a representative time. Les Stevenson currently not set a time, 8 minutes to go, and it's quite interesting this merge between the split one and split two guys. Seeing how some of these guys are going to line up, as we see Drazik currently sitting in 8th place, second in class, going through, I believe, Bruxelles up towards No Name here. Obviously traffic quite an issue, John, as well, with so many cars on such a long track. Are these guys going to run into each other in qualifying, maybe a couple of laps being aborted due to being blocked, etc.?
Yeah, we did have a rule from Tim Ireland in the driver's briefing notes today about the qualifying session. Of course, the first minute, the AM drivers weren't allowed to leave the pits, so essentially split one drivers only for the first minute, which of course gave them time to find a little bit of space on track before all the split two guys found their way out of the pits. And yeah, looking at the track map on the right, Callum, just that, you know, look at the massive gaggle of cars we got all the way from the bus stop right up to Blanchiment and all the way back down the circuit. It's just a massive snaking train of Lamborghinis, so it's going to be great once we get under, you know, green flag conditions. 40 cars all barreling up the Kemmel Straight as Adam Romagnoc there drifting through the first part of the bus stop chicane, trying to really rotate that Lamborghini into the apex, coming across the line now. No improvement to be had. Actually, he does improve, sorry, 2 minutes 20.740, but no improvement on position. Still quite a way yet until he catches Rachinov and Andy Boardman just pressing on behind him in the Greased Weasel racing car. Yeah,
Spa seems to be sort of a great spreader of the field currently. Usually we've got, as we said, sort of 13, 15, 20 cars within a second of each other. It's currently, I believe, only the top 5 that are back close, as we see Facuccio coming through Blanchiment there. Really high commitment corner in these cars. Obviously don't want to run too far out wide, and then it's the all important braking point for the bus stop. Quite hard to pick out the right point. You want to hook that inside curb, run a little bit wide but keeping it clean. Really important not to bounce over any of those sausage curbs though. Quite a few of them here at Spa obviously can absolutely destroy a lap time, as a couple of places hopped there by Facuccio, hopping a couple of the AM drivers there. So no gain in class, but a gain in overall position, John.
Yeah, indeed. Every grid spot, I think, will matter tonight. But the sheer number of cars, of course, you're not going to want to be focusing on the back of a split two driver when your split one rival is, you know, miles up the road from you and just gaining and gaining even more. Nico Kumpu this time out with a little bit more luck, it seems, finds himself in P6 currently as he navigates through the right and the left towards the latter half of the lap. A little bit of traffic ahead of him. Been told in my ear, Ryan Gill's looking at the deltas, looking quite good indeed for Nico Kumpu at the moment. He's only got a few more turns essentially to do and one big long run up through to Blanchiment, turns 17 and 18 before the bus stop. Tom Shipston ahead of him there, and I believe one of these split two drivers as well in the mix in the Gulf coloured kind of Lamborghini light blue and orange. The rounds through Blanchiment, very smooth run indeed towards the bus stop. Traffic getting way out of the way for Nico. Very good to see the split two drivers being situationally aware. We do, you know, refer to them as split two drivers, but as they're proven tonight, they are just as good as the split one drivers. And Nico Kumpu comes to the line, does improve, P4 with a 2:20.827, just off the back of Adam Romagnoc on pure lap pace. Lopez Garcia has found his way in between Boardman and Romagnoc as well, so the front is looking ever closer, Callum.
Yeah, nice and tight up at the front as well, with those again sort of starting to eke out top 6 now within a second of each other, just with Andy Boardman cutting 0.985 of a second off the pole time. But as we said, still quite a big spread over the whole field. This is another driver looking to get in there. Charlotte Robertson currently 7.6 seconds off the pace. But right in the bus stop, Ryan, I'm sure, will be keeping an eye on the deltas to see if it's an improvement, and we'll see now as she comes across the line. In total a second, so a good jump in time there, but time for a couple more laps to get ourselves closer up to some of the other AM drivers in the field. Still waiting on Les Stevenson to set a lap. Maybe he's decided to start from the back. I don't know. I haven't seen it mentioned, but he might have decided to have some fun at the back. Oh, I'm being told in my ear by Ryan he's only just joined, so it's going to be a very, very, very hasty couple of laps for Les Stevenson as he's jumped into 32nd place already with that first one. So yeah, a couple more laps time to go, and if we can get those tyres up to temperature. We haven't seen that long warm-up phase that we saw at the earlier rounds at Brands. But track is obviously at optimum, so we'll see how he goes as Daniel Martinez coming up to the bus stop here. Always a gaggle of cars coming up to the line, so plenty of people to choose from. In 23rd place, he's only got a few thousandths of a second, and he can jump forward 3 or 4 positions here, so we'll see if this is an improvement. Jumping forward to 16th. They're only making up a couple of tenths, but it's really tight in that mid-pack, John.
Yeah, the mid-pack is certainly where all the action will be tonight. I think Stefano Ricciardo there navigating somebody off at the top of the chemistry, I believe Les Stevenson. But yeah, I mean, conditions tonight, you know, much warmer than what we've seen in previous rounds. 27 degrees air temperature translating to 32 degrees on the track. So Pirelli should be coming in, you know, nice and quickly. If you can get the brakes up to temperature, the tarmac should do the rest of the work, put a little bit of load through the high-speed corners, and before you know it, you're already at your optimal pressures and optimal temperatures. Just over 2 minutes to go, 2 minutes 18. So anybody crossing the line now will pretty much have another stab at it. Although we're seeing a yellow flag down on the bus stop, the number 141 back to the pit lane, possibly calling it a day there. You're not going to have any time to go out and, you know, test another set of tyres to see if you can get anywhere. Nico Kumpu still in P4, currently 0.695 to find on the leader, and a very small margin to find on Adam Nemaniuk as we ride on board up the Camel Straight to turn 7, 8 and 9 of Les Combes, keeping it very tidy over the AstroTurf, flicks it the other way, still hooking that little bit of inside AstroTurf, but not massive amounts before sending it back to the left side to try and maximise the final turn of Les Combes. Turn 9 now down into turn 10 of Bruxelles. It's a double apex line almost. Lets it skate wide on the first one, but does bring it back in nice and tidy, and now into No Name. Typically a very tricky corner, you know, it kind of falls away from you as you turn in. The car wants to skate naturally wide out to the outside curb, and that's where you find yourself with some track limits. And being told in my ear, a misshift from Nico Kumpu, possibly has lost a tenth of his lap time so far, but we're going to stay riding on board as he equals his delta through the second sector. He's only got one more sector to improve, and you know, with a minute on the clock, you've got nothing to lose at this point, Nico. I think he's going to maybe have time potentially for one more lap as he gets very squirrely out of the turns of Campus in turn 14, now down to 15, Stavelot, and into 16, the curb Paul de Frere as he rounds up to the corner now to Blanchimont at the top of the hill. Ryan Gilmay telling me he is going to have enough time for another lap, so if Nico Kumpu can set a decent lap time like he just had in the first couple of sectors before he misshifted, Delta still equal as he rounds towards the bus stop now. No traffic ahead of him, he's got the 222 just rounding out the bus stop ahead, and as he brakes nice and calmly, he's easing off to pace himself to the car ahead. Still 12 seconds on the clock. Nico Kumpu is going to have one final stab at it. As you look towards the left hand side, you see all the P's next to the drivers that are currently in the pits. They've called it a day. They don't want to try anymore, as now Nico Kumpu is the last car to cross the line. So this man will be the only man now really with a stab at the pole. Everybody else behind him is going to be finalising their laps. We see a couple of blue cars there. That means invalidation, so no luck for the 255 and the 157. As you ride on the splitter cam, you can really see the angle that Eau Rouge has as you climb up the hill. It's a very steep section indeed, and probably much steeper in real life than we imagine through the virtual eye of Nico Kumpu's Lamborghini splitter. As we come back to Tom Shipston, currently in P18, down towards the back of the split one guys, shall we say, with a couple of split two drivers just ahead of him as well in P10 and P7. Rounding through Blanchimont, Ground Zero Racing number 60. Let's have a look quickly at the boards. He's looking pretty good on his deltas so far. A couple more turns to go of the bus stop. Flicks it right, flicks it left. needs to maximise as much of the exit as he can, keeps it relatively tidy, runs to the line now. Tom Shipston improves up to P15 with a 2:22.132, exactly 2 seconds off your leaders. And we were talking about the RPMS boys. Matt Stevens now in the 77, rounding through Blanchimont towards the end of the lap. Again, is he going to be able to improve? Looking towards the Delta. Again, looking like another good improvement from another car. A lot of these guys finding their times quite late in the session. Later than, like you said, Callum, earlier, later than we're used to. We're used to seeing the guys kind of setting about 3/4 of the way through all their fast laps, and then it just kind of tails off towards the end. You get the odd random 1 or 2 firing themselves up the order, and Matt Stevens does so into P11. But this man here, John Aracer, just behind him in P12, currently rounding through Blanchimont. I'm being told on my ear, Nico Kumpu has abandoned the lap, so John Aracer is the last car on the circuit. Just over a minute of wait time to go, so we will see Aracer finish this lap as he comes through the bus stop chicane, coming towards the line now. P12 currently doesn't improve, unfortunately, so John Aracer remains in P12. But a couple of wild cards there, Callum, with the split 2 guys, P7 and P10, and one down in P17. So, they're certainly showing their pace tonight.
Yeah, really, really good place from Budu and Drazik there, and obviously Weidman beating out some of the split 1 guys of Thunberg, Martinez, and Cal, as I can see on my screen here as we jump to the qualifying standings overall. I don't know if you want to run through those for us, John.
Yeah, certainly. So Pedro Marquez, your man on pole position tonight. And look at that, another driver without claiming all 3 of the fastest sectors. Vency Rachinov in P2, Adam Romaniuk P3, Nico Kumpu P4, Andy Boardman in P5, Lopez Garcia in P6, and then the first of the split 2 drivers, Budu, in P7. Benjamin Schumann in P8, Ethan Scotty P9, Drazik in P10, again another split 2 driver, Matt Stevens, John Aracer, Richard Phillips, Roskam at his home circuit in P14, P15, Matthew Kingston Lee, Tom Shipston P16, Jeroen Weideman P17, Matthias Thornberg P18, Daniel Martinez P19, see him on your screen here, I believe, that could be actually Tim Ireland's car, very similar livery car, Cal in P20, Fakusho P21, Ricciardo P22, Les Stevenson, our very own RCI staff member, P23, Foster 24th, Daniel Crinzen P25, Dos Ramos in P26, Callum Kerrigan 27th, Martin Broiker in P28, and Farion in P29, Aguelo in P30, Manzo in 31st, Hogevane in P32, Withall 33rd, Carmona P34, our very own Kevin Boss and Tim Ireland in 35 and 36th, Daniel Montero P37, Keith Withall in 38, Charlotte Robertson in P39, Conebean in 40th, and your last driver of the night, Owen in 41st, and that is the longest list of drivers I think I've ever read at the end of a qualifying session. And typically between practice and qualifying, we do of course have a look at your championship standings, as Ryan Gill is busy behind the scenes pulling them up. Here we go. Jose Jimenez, a driver not here tonight, leads on 199 points, with Vency Rachinov on 178 in P2, looking to maximize everything he can tonight to get away from Adam Romaniuk with 150 points in P3. Andy Boardman hot on his heels, 148, and Pedro Marquez with 146. So we got 3 drivers separated by less than 4 points. We then got Tom Shipston on 100, Carlos Frau on 99, Matt Stevens on 98, Ethan Scotty on 96, and then Matthew Kingston Lee rounds out your top 10 with 84 points. As we flick on over to page 2 now, Benjamin Schumann on 80, John Aracer on 76, Roskam at his home circuit on 71, Lopez Garcia on 62, Matthias Thornberg with 52, Les Stevenson on 48, and then we have a tie between Schmid and Crinzen on 44 each. Daniel Martinez with 38 and Marco Fakusho with 36 rounds out your top 20 drivers in Pro. Now heading over to page 3, Nico Kumpu with 36, Richard Phillips with 32, Carlos Calatayud with 30, Sammy Cow with 22, Luke Crofts with 20, Bailey Collins with 18, and Carmona with 0, a late sign up for split 1. And everybody else with a dash by their name has unfortunately signed out, and a long list of names there, including Christoph Verstraper, to focus on RCI esports and other things indeed. And Ryan Gill has to bring up the split 2 results. So while he does so, we will have a quick rundown of the week here at RCI. Tuesday continues. RCI goes iRacing with the Road Series, with round 2 heading to Okayama. Our very own Bart Matcher took the first victory last week on Tuesday. Rookies Championship Season 3 heads to their final round here at Spa. Michael Bosch taking a commanding lead in Pro, with Patrick Duffy in silver, just 11 points ahead of his rival Serkan Duran. Olivier Hameau leads in AM. Thursday continues our Season 12 Championship with a British GT theme. GT3 and GT4 tour the British GT calendar, heading to Brands Hatch next. Myself and Callum both competed last week, funnily enough, at Silverstone, and we had 2 very different races, which we'll touch on later on in the broadcast, of course. And then Friday continues our GT Sprint Challenge Season 9 with round 5 heading to Misano, with Valentin Barrier taking victory from fellow Frenchmen Hugo Mels and Dylan Tan coming in third. Once again here at Spa, Tan still leads overall, with Barrier and Mels mounting a comeback. Joona Savalainen has unfortunately now slipped down to 4th overall, and I'm hoping Ryan Gill has now split 2 championship results, and if he doesn't, then I do have a few more bits of filler that I can certainly find our way through. And that being said, why don't we talk about our race, Callum, on Thursday?
I don't know what to.
2 very different races. Andy Boardman pipped me to the Pro victory. Harry Conway took GT4 Pro. Mike Redford took GT3 AM. And Varian Phil Roberts also taking a GT4 AM victory as well. And I saw a few dramas with your race, Callum.
I got hit with the unfortunate bug of loading the wrong setup. So really rookie mistake. I always manage to do it somehow in ACC as Ryan is cutting 2 cars on the formation lap, but yeah, so had to pit for fuel, and then it was just a bit of a nightmare, and decided to stay out of the way and just sort of keep it clean. Ended up getting to the end of the race, just running around at the back, but it was fun. It's a long time since I've been properly league racing, so it was nice to actually get to the end of an experience race, as we've been told. Unfortunately, the AM standings are not working, so a few technical difficulties for Ryan. So we'll just have a look at these lovely cars coming around to the grid. A long formation lap here, obviously at Spa. But yeah, John, saw you. Well, when you came past me at one point, you were right in the battle there for first place. Unfortunately, as you said, getting pipped to it by, I believe it was
Andy Boardman, yeah.
Andy Boardman, so
driver qualified in P5 tonight. But yeah, Andy put up a stupendous fight in the Aston Martin. I actually had him in the pit stop as well. We came in nose to tail down the lane, had a cleaner stop. I guess I stopped on the jacks, whereas Andy might have missed his just about. We all know how finicky the ACC pit box limits can be. You know, you're a millimetre off, and before you know it, you're up on the jacks, back down, shuffled forward, shuffled backwards, and yeah, big amount of time lost. But yeah, I think I gained about 1.5 to 2 seconds in pit stops. Unfortunately, just after I lapped you going into Maggots and Beckett's. Really randomly, the rear of the car broke away, and a full-on opposite lock moment, banged it down to like 2nd gear, somehow managed to grip up and keep going, but yeah, absolutely ruined the nice new set of Pirellis I'd put on about 2 or 3 laps prior. So that was where all the pace went in the second half of the race, unfortunately. But yeah, hoping for you know, a much cleaner, kind of more stable result, shall we say, at the next couple of rounds. But yeah, Silverstone much scary in the first sector.
Yeah, you weren't driving the V12 Aston, so I don't think you can complain about having a sketchy guys. But it's equivalent to driving a GT 3.5 car. Sometimes it feels like that thing. Yeah,
can't
anticipate how
traction control system very dated in that car. I remember driving at Donington, coming out of the Melbourne hairpin. It just doesn't know what it's doing.
It's and then it just engages the traction control, no matter what gear or what speed or what grip you have. It just constantly engages traction control. So the only solution is just to floor it as early as you can and let the traction control sort of try and sort itself out at some point, or completely disengage it, but then you have scary moments, especially through Mackett's and Beckett's. I did try it on one of the laps and nearly looped it straight round, so promptly turned it back on. But getting a bit used to it. But it's an interesting beast. I'll hopefully have some more practice for the next round on Thursday. But not expecting to be battling you at the front anytime soon.
Certainly is a funnel car. Do very much enjoy it. And just before we of course get to the green flag, if you do like the sound of anything that me and Callum are discussing tonight, and you do want to be a part of RCI, whether or not you race on a Monday only, whether or not you race every single day, we have something for you over on the website. So head on over to racerci.com, and night owl for those drivers that are awake most of the night or living in exotic places. Season 12 sign-ups are of course still open, with the pre-qualifying taking place at Laguna Seca. Season begins this week on February 11th, ironically, at Laguna Seca, and we already have a great mix of nationalities in the sign-up list, ranging from Italians, Brits, Brazilians, Americans, and even someone from Japan. So very interesting to see how everybody from different cultures comes together. I'm being asked in my ear who it is. It is Kaneko, indeed, Ryan Gill. He has signed up. So yeah, good to see everybody is chipping in. And Damien Lowe from Singapore, I noticed on the sign-ups as well. Known Damien a few years, so great to see him getting involved. But less of night owl, more of tonight, as we now file up 2x2 down towards the GT grid start line. Of course, we don't use the F1 starting procedure, shall we say, so we cut out the nasty pinch point of La Source and begin the 2x2 run up towards Eau Rouge and Radion, as drivers are now waiting for the green. Rachidov looking a little bit far back, or Marquez maybe being a bit far ahead, as the green flag drops 2x2 down into Eau Rouge and Radion. Marquez, of course, streaks ahead, nobody beside him. Renzi Rachidov just behind there manages to pit Adam Romagnac over the top of the hill, I believe, and now we have this fantastic shot of the car streaking around the Ardennes forest. Now the train begins. Renzi Rachidov, not where you want to be at the front of this, heading up into Lecumbe. He's got Adam Romagnac there, he's got Nico Kumpu, Andy Boardman, everybody on a mix of cold tyres and brakes. We see Benjamin Schumann nearly losing it there towards the outside, and looking in the background, it seems all relatively clean, but commentator's curse is bound to strike in a minute. Now Rachidov has just about held on through Lecumbe, now down to Bruxelles and No Name. We see Andy Boardman up the inside of Nico Kumpu there, and Lopez Garcia still on the back of this train. But what you want to be doing if you're Rachidov and Romagnac is maybe work together, maybe see if you can catch Marquez in these early stages. And those of you that are regulars at RCI will see at the top, hang on a minute, why are we only racing for 50 minutes? Well, Tim Ireland had been watching too much IMSA, I believe, over last year, and thought he'd replicate this. So of course, no pit lane refueling to be had, as we see an RPMS car off to the right hand side, one to the left hand side as well, and the Lion Bar cars are now starting a feud with the RPMS boys. 2x2 they go through turns 13 and 14 of campus and towards Stavelot turn 15, but no pit lane refueling tonight, so hopefully drivers have gauged how much fuel they needed for the formation lap and how much fuel they're going to need for all out racing for 50 minutes. You can of course come in if you like to fix any damage, serve any penalties, but unfortunately you will be at a mega disadvantage, Callum, as this pit lane just goes on forever.
Yeah, here at Spa, if we see anything like last week with these penalties, we could have quite a few drivers in trouble if we're thinking of getting drive throughs. One of the RPMS boys really wide there. I think that was Stevens, I think, depending from Phillips in the other RPMS cars. It's a surprise to have such a clean start. Bearing in mind we've got a field of AM drivers. Drazik here making up a massive amount of time currently in P7, so he's overtaken Budu for the AM lead overall, and is battling here with, I believe, on the back of Pedro Lopez Garcia. So really interesting to see. He's a little ways behind here, coming up towards Eau Rouge and Radion, as Lopez Garcia looking to close in on Nico Kumpu and Andy Boardman, both having good starts in 4th and 5th place respectively. So it'll be interesting to see how far these AM boys can get in the field, and see if they can stay there as well.
Yeah, definitely so. We said Drazik, of course, is ahead of Boudou. Drazik starting down in P10. Boudou, I believe, was P7 or P8, so a couple of places slipped. And Benjamin Schumann is around at the top of the hill of Radion. I think he's just about kept it out of the wall and does a sensible rejoin as well, staying way off the road to one side to allow a few more drivers through. And Benjamin Schumann now down in P40. And Tim Ireland is the other driver you see just streaking past. Then something has happened to Tim on the opening lap. So I mean, like you say, 41 cars, it's relatively clean considering what we could have. But yeah, looking at Drazik, where he is in P7, he has got the man you want to keep behind you, John Eraser. We saw it last time out of Brands Hatch, Callum, how much Eraser defended from Jose Lopez. And if Boudou gets on the back of Eraser, I think Eraser isn't going to take it lying down, and he's really going to be, you know, elbows out this time. He's not going to make it easy, and that makes it even easier, hopefully, for Drazik to kind of streak away into the distance away from his championship rival.
Yeah, we'll see. Or maybe Eraser's going to get on the back and close them both down, as Eraser, I believe, has actually jumped Drazik by 6 tenths and captain by about 6 tenths in the middle sector, and Boudou right behind him now. So I don't know if Drazik's maybe had a bit of an incident. I think looking back to the 141 car, I believe that car started from the pit lane, so that's why that car was so far at the back. So I don't believe it was involved in any incidents on the opening lap. But as we see Boudou here, yeah, right up behind Drazik, 4 tenths, so right into the bus stop. Maybe Drazik's decided that it's not his fight with Eraser, or maybe a mistake somewhere. We didn't quite see it on any of the cameras, but yellow flag of the car 54, I believe, is pulled over. So that's Matthias Tornberg has gone around, and the 74 as well is stopped just after onto what's just about got going again. I believe there's some kind of incident down back there. As we see, yeah, Matthias Tornberg just about getting going very, very, very slowly there. A couple of cars on the track map as we see Daniel Crinson going down the inside. And there's a car at turn 1, the RPMS boys of Daniel Crinson, 2 cars around at turn 1, having to avoid there. So might have used up one of the track limits warnings depending on whether the game decided he gained any time. I doubt it there, as we see cars going 4 in a line up Eau Rouge and over the top of the crest of Radion there. Some of them cutting the corners here. Really going to be, is it really 3 wide down the main straight down through the Camel Straight. Car on the grass on the left-hand side there, misjudging his line a little bit, as we see a flood of Lamborghinis heading down the Camel Straight. Who's going to brake last into lane com? As we see 2 by 2 in there, very late on the brakes was, I believe, Kerrigan, and he's gone down. He's tapped one of the, I believe, Daniel Martinez. Maybe, or was it Carmona that's spun around here? No, Carmona's 3, so I think Kerrigan maybe tapping Daniel Martinez there and getting sent round by the ACC contact system. He's been done over by the physics with a bit of maybe an air back to the old side pod glitch of F1 days there. But as we jump forward again, Ethan Scotty here battling with Boudou right up behind Drazik as well. So this is not only the battle for the AM lead, but also Scotty really wants to get ahead of these guys to start maybe looking into trying to eat into that sort of gap ahead to John Eraser here. Only 0.006 of a second between Eraser and Drazik though, I believe, although the time screws are sorting themselves out a little bit. They take their time a little bit around here at Spa, obviously, because the sectors are so large, so might be a bit outdated, some of the information we have coming from Ethan Scotty now right up behind the back of Boudou, coming through Blanchimont. Going to be quite a wash from the car in front, as you can see. He doesn't quite hit the apex, running out quite wide as we jump to the splitter cam to see, is he going to make a darting move on the brakes into the bus stop? No, decides to just follow the car through ahead. Maybe he's thinking about lining a run up through Eau Rouge and down the Camel Straight, John.
Yeah, so Camel Straight is certainly where you want to be going, as we saw last time out. Callum Kerrigan all over the grass, trying to pull like a Kevin Estra move, or maybe trying some iRacing tactics of cooling the tyres down. We all know that doesn't, of course, work in ACC, but Ethan Scotty now needs to maximise his run out of La Source, down to Radion and Eau Rouge, up the Camel Straight, as we see one of the RPMS cars in the pit lane to the left-hand side of the screen, and somebody else in there as well. Not too sure who they are, but we will certainly probably find out, as Ethan Scotty using all of the inside there. Definitely going to be a warning from ACC's cut detection on that one. We know how unforgiving the system can be sometimes. You know, sometimes we run wide, we look at it and we go, how was that a cut? But somehow it detects it, and now Nico Kumpu fired up onto the back of Andy Boardman. Boardman, I know from last time out on Thursdays, doesn't move out the way easily. It takes a lot to throw him off his line, and Nico Kumpu is certainly going to be putting on the pressure, as of course he's got Lopez Garcia just behind him as well. And if these guys start scrapping, Lopez Garcia is going to be finding a way possibly past the both of them. But John Aracer, you know, living up to curse of the commentator, essentially. We were bigging up, you know, Drazik, saying how well he was doing, and then all of a sudden Aracer's gone past. So completely disregard the point I said about Aracer, but we do now have the split 1 and the split 2 championship contenders locked together in P8 and 9. And if you are just joining the broadcast and wondering, hey, what the hell is happening here? We've merged the splits basically for the finale, so we have over 40 cars tonight. Your favourite drivers in split 1, who are regulars of course on the broadcast, well represented by the white number board, and of course anybody with a red number board is a driver from split 2, so potentially why you're not recognising the majority of the names on the board. And Tom Bryant asking in chat, so John Donington, how important is qualifying in a 24-hour race? And I will tell you, probably not that important at all, but the further forward you are, the less likely you are of getting involved in those classic turn 1, turn 2 incidents where suddenly a 20... Unless you're at Monza, says Ryan Gill, which is very true. But yeah, when people turn a 24-hour race into the first, 24 seconds, should we say, and everybody's suddenly got to get a move on, like, time's not an issue. But yeah, it's not too important, I would say. But, each to their personal preference. Monza is probably the exception on the circuits, as Richard Whittle now tries to put Kevin Boss under pressure. Kevin covers off the inside into the bus stop. I was watching Kevin the other day on an ACC stream. I think he was racing possibly some LFM races or something to the daily nature, shall we say, of what ACC has to offer. But Richard Whittle is not going to find it easy getting past Kevin Boss. I know how tricky Kevin, can really put up a fight, even though these guys are, of course, split 2. They're split 2 just designated on pace. It doesn't, of course, say anything about their skill, their experience, or their knowledge of the game, as Kevin Boss leads the train down through Eau Rouge, up the other side through Radion, and I believe Callum Kerrigan is just ahead there as Richard Whittle, using all of the exit curb coming over the top of the hill, and Kevin Boss is lost a position. Didn't see that one happen on the cameras, but Kevin has gone back in the really slow racing team. I like a good punny team name, and unfortunately Daniel Crimson finds his way past as well, but Crimson being in split 1, of course, doesn't really matter for Kevin's championship points. It's Broiker he's got to be careful of just behind him there. Fellow Dutchman going to have a bit of Dutch on Dutch action here as Broiker goes to the wide line through turn 10 and tucks it in a little bit more. Kevin Boss typically taking the double apex line and now down into no-name. Broiker is closing all the time, although Broiker looking like he missed the apex ever so slightly into no-name, going to hamper his run down into Pouron. So I think Kevin Boss is safe, but only just for the moment, as Broiker really looks to be on one at the moment.
Yeah, just going to jump back quickly to your comment on the championship standings and where they look like they're going live in the race so far. Obviously 65 points for a win here, 58 for second and 53 points for third. So looking at that and championship, or split 2, championship battle, obviously Drazik is just about within contention, but only just, and I believe he would have to win, get fastest lap in the AM standings, and Budu not have to finish. The car that is going to be the closest to challenge Budu is Dos Ramos, who is currently down in 17th, over 8 places behind. However, still third in the AM standings, so still on for a good haul of points. If anything were to happen with Budu, as we see Ethan Scotty chasing down Budu in 10th place, currently coming up to Eau Rouge and Radion. And in the pro standings, Romagnoc and Rachanov look to be the 2 drivers that are going to, hopefully, commentators curse avoiding, look like they'll be battling it out for the win. However, Woodman is up there as well. All of them separated, Rachanov on 178, Manic on 150 and Bourne on 148. So whichever of those drivers finishes ahead obviously will win the championship. Worth mentioning 4 points for the pole position for Marquez and Boudou, and 3 points available for the fastest lap in each class as well. So that's the quick bit of mental maths out of the way in the middle. So currently, as it stands, I believe it is Rashidov and Boudou currently on track for their respective class championships, John.
And speaking of championships, we shall move on to the pre-qualifying segment. Is still going on for the RCI 6-hour Challenge Esports Series with 5 rounds, 50 teams, limited tyre sets and a custom BOP with a forecasted 5-figure €10,000 prize pool on the table. The series aims to showcase the absolute best of what sim racing has to offer on Assetto Corsa Competizione. We've got some big names already signed up on the list. I'm not sure if you saw the tweet we put out the other day on Twitter. We have SOP, sorry, I've typoed that horribly wrong. FFS Racing, Ren Velton, Aspar Esports, 1FF, Barlas Esports, Lipa Esports, Wild Things Racing Team, and none other than Samantha Tan Racing from the GT World Challenge. And alongside the esports series, we also have a free event running on Saturdays with no entry fees and no prize pool. Pre-qualifying is also open for that one now. And for those of you not competing in either, we'll also be running a giveaway here at RCI TV in conjunction with our partner Fanatec, with more details still to be revealed on that later on. But I, for one, am very excited to see the esports series kick off. I really can't wait to see, the biggest names that we have in the ACC community all pipping themselves against each other, especially with limited tyre sets, because I find that is something in esports that, it doesn't really play a part. When you have 50 to 60 tyre sets, you can constantly be on the best available tyre that you have. Whereas now with limited tyre sets, of course, you have to choose what you're going to use for qualifying, what you're going to use for the race, and potentially what you might even be double using, Callum.
Yeah, it's a thing that I see a lot in real life motorsport, obviously, racing in the Brit Car Endurance Championship this year with the university that I'm a part of as one of the mechanics on our Praga Cup car, as we saw, I think, who was it there? Boudou really cutting the chicane at the top of Radion. Probably going to be one of the warnings that he used up to stay ahead of Ethan Scotty, as we've got a car down the inside there. He spun on his own there of Carmona there, battling with Daniel Martinez. He's lost a couple of places there, but they're all going to be 2 drivers there, so he doesn't actually, I believe, drop down any further in the standings in terms of the pro split. But yeah, obviously limited tyre sets, so really got to be careful and thinking about what you're double using. We'll find that using a fresh tyre on for qualifying, and then we'll keep that tyre for the entire endurance weekend and use it for the next week's next race's testing as well. Usually our races are about once a month or so all around the UK. If you're ever at any of the Brit Car events, feel free to come say hi in the paddock. We're always about in the Praga section, as we see Kingston Lee here currently battling with Roscan in a big bunch of these pro cars, from Ethan Scotty in 10th all the way down to Les Stevenson, who's had a decent start, bearing in mind he joined qualifying late down in 16th place currently, John.
Yeah, Les is always one of those drivers you kind of see on the board and you're like, right, Les Stevens is here, great. And then you kind of blink, you look away, you wait kind of 20 minutes, and then before you know it, he's just kind of mixing in with the top 20. And you don't quite know how he's done it, but somehow he has managed it. Racing under number 46, of course, famous motorcyclist also chooses that number. And there's a rumour going around that Les Stevenson has a giant Rossi back tattoo in the community. Can't confirm nor deny, but it was mentioned in the chat somewhere the other day. So I think we need to prove or disprove that one if we ever meet Les Stevenson at any Brit Car rounds. But yeah, moving on to another thing new for RCI. Not only are we running our first paid esports competition, we are also, of course, running iRacing. Some of you may have noticed last Tuesday in the Discord that we were, of course, discussing such likes. For those of you, of course, interested, we do have a road series currently running with a multi-class grid of GT4 and MX-5 cars, racing on a Tuesday of each week, and the same car class follows an endurance race, as we see Roscoe getting very close here, sorry, on the stream, to the back of Boudou. Boudou has managed to kind of lose the little bit of pressure he was putting on Drazik. We now have Ethan Scotty and Matt Stevens between the two, so Boudou with a couple of positions to make up before he can assault the back of Drazik. But we do have an endurance race at Okayama as well on the 11th of February, and for those of you that love to drive around in circles only turning left, we've also added an event just for you with the Charlotte 75. 50 laps around Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Street Stock Series, and of course if you head on over to our Discord, we also have some iRacing codes available for those wanting to dip their toe in another sim, as Matthew Kingston Lee dips his toe up the inside nearly of Roscam, and very close indeed. Roscam positioned the car perfectly just to make it awkward enough, but just enough to not make any contact with Matthew Kingston Lee. As we ride on board now, Matthew Kingston Lee really overdriving that car, misses his braking point, but Stavilo is really going to hamper his run now all the way up to the bus stop. Of course, Roscam with a slight slipstream being put off maybe from Boudou's car ahead. Kingston Lee, of course, now way far back, so he's going to have to do all of that all over again to get onto the back. But we do have of course, a 3-month free trial for new accounts only, so perfect to test if iRacing is the sim for you. And alternatively, we have 12 months on offer for $49.99 USD, again for new accounts only, which is ideal, of course, if you want to take part in all of our events over the next year. And the details on how to claim these can be found in our Discord server, with a link, of course, in the description below. And I'm a little bit tempted by the 3 months. I'm not going to lie, Callum. I've always wanted to try racing, and now could be the perfect time.
I'm tempted as well. We're obviously starting to get back into the old sim racing gigs with some of these RCI series, but yeah, might be tempted to dip my toe into iRacing over, as we see Abdel Dos Ramos here coming down, I believe, having a look at the back of Les Stevenson, maybe trying to get a run up the Kemmel straight as he goes through and over the top of the crest of Radion. Maximum commitment there. It looks like he has gained a little bit of time though. He's going to tuck into the slipstream and try and get a run down to Lecom, the big passing point here, obviously at Spa. It's quite a hard section afterwards of Malmedy and Bruxelles into No Name, so it's very rare to see too many passes there unless you're really brave onto the on the brakes down the hill into the hairpin. Des Ramos not really gaining as much as I thought he was going to do in the slipstream. As we I'm going to cut over to the Monday Live Penalty Reports channel and have a look at some of the incidents that's been posted by the head steward tonight, Jake Oswell. Obviously we've got Andreas, but Carlos de Circuit Catalunya had to mention his name on the stream. Currently in there as well. Tom Watts, Conor Morgan, and the aforementioned Jake in there. Incident on lap 1, turn 5, involving the 13 and the 50. I believe that's Kevin Boss and Daniel Montero. Racing incident, minor contact. Incident on lap 2, turn 4, involving the 22 and the 31. Racing incident judged between the stewards. The 31 takes out the 22, who doesn't apply the brakes fully, causing further contact and a spin for the 31. Both drivers deemed partially at fault, and due to time loss, no penalty given. An incident on lap 2, turn 13, involving the 137 and the 909. A warning for the car 909. The 909 hit the 137 in the rear, forcing the 137 off track. Position, however, was returned to the stewards, looking likely on the 137 there, who I'm trying to currently find in the standings. That is Stefano Riccardo. An incident on lap 2, turn 9, involving the 20 and the 63. It was given as a racing incident, minor contact, which is Jerome Weidemann, and trying to find the 20 again. I believe I just saw him. Can't see him immediately.
20 Fukushio, right.
Fukushio again involved in another incident there. Lap 2, turn 17, involving the car number 54 and the car number 20. Fukushio again in the wars here, this time with a split one boy, Matthias Thornberg. I believe this was the incident that we saw the effects of Blanchimont, a drive through for the car number 20, who takes out the 54 position, not returned. As we see Nico Kumpu having to go defensive, I believe, to Andy Boardman. Boardman has gone through with Kumpu outbraking himself into Lei Kum, so trying to weave and stay in Boardman's mirrors there, maybe put him off his line, but I'm sure, as you know, John, as you mentioned from this Thursday race, Boardman not one to be phased by a car in his mirrors as they run through No Name nose to tail here, coming down towards Pouon. Is Nico Kumpu going to be able to find a way back past him? Maybe thinking already about the long straight out from Paul Ferrer, waits through Blanchimont and down into the bus stop. Maybe going to try and line up a move for the end of that.
Yeah, Andy Boardman, very tricky to get past, literally unfazed by everything I tried to chuck at him. Just absorbed everything like a sponge, in fact. And Nico Kumpu is probably going to want to try and, maximise as much of the slipstream as he can. So if he keeps it, tight through here, up to Blanchimont, through the bus stop, down La Source, up Eau Rouge and Radion, and then get his move done into Les Combes once again. He knows where he can't break from the last attempt. So maybe you can rein it back a couple of metres and you might draw up in time for the corner. And of course, with Monday's calendar coming to an end tonight, we do have a sneak peek of what is to come for those of you that are watching the stream. If this sounds like it's up your street, then of course head on over to racerci.com as Andy Boardman there takes a slightly wider line through the bus stop, allows Nico Kumpu to really close up on the back of him. So like I said, riding on board now with Nico Kumpu. If you can keep it clean through, through La Source, he looks to the inside, decides to pull back left to open up the corner and try and gain as much on corner exit as he can. He's going to want to stay in the slipstream, maybe a little bit of aero watch through Eau Rouge and Radion, hopefully not, but then hopefully he can use the toe up to Les Combes and outbreak Andy Boardman up the inside. The outside certainly doesn't work in Les Combes unless you can really hang it around and keep the inside for the second part, which then of course would then become the outside for the third turn before remaining on the outside for Bruxelles. And now just look at the slipstream that Nico Kumpu's got right up to the back of Andy Boardman this time, runs him all the way to the right hand side of the road, sticks it in the middle. Not sure if Boardman came over there on him, and Boardman spins and Kumpu goes around with him. Two cars facing backwards. Lopez Garcia comes through and says thank you very much indeed. Two positions on that one. Nico Kumpu comes out ahead of Andy Boardman. Not sure what the stewards are going to deem on that one, and Drazik looking just in the back of the shot there, looking to add another car to the gap between himself and Boudou for the championship chances, but not sure what way that is going to go. TV cam didn't make it all too clear from where we were stood, so we're going to have to keep an eye in the stewards box and see what they deem of it, Callum.
Yeah, there's a little bit of door-to-door contact on the entry of the corner, which is, I believe, what probably upset both of the drivers in the braking zone. Maybe Boardman locking up a wheel and running wide, as you say, the TV cam not being our best friend there, and our replay system is, again, having technical difficulties. It was not working at Brands either. It's really, really hating Ryan Gill in the broadcasting booth at the minute. This is Ryan saying this is why he doesn't broadcast, because everything seems to blow up immediately. Nico Kumpu here holding 5th position then, as Lopez Garcia, as you said, got through there, just arriving at Les Combes with 2 really easy positions to gain there. And yeah, as we see Kumpu and Boardman, I don't know what the stewards are going to do there, to be fair. I'll have to see what they judge of that, as we see Weidman there and Whittle battling here. Sorry, Montero and Weidman and Whittle again behind as well. A 3-car battle there for, I believe it's 5th or 6th place, 5th, 6th and 7th place in the Amsterdam.
Yeah, be about 6th, I reckon.
Yeah, Montero though with a 5-second penalty, as we've seen not quite as many penalties as last weekend at Brands Hatch. Bearing in mind as well, we are obviously a merged split 1 and split 2 tonight for over 40 cars on the grid for the last race. As right up at the back there of the car in front of Weidman coming through Blanchimont, it's going to try and outbreak down the outside. He's being shown the outside by Montero into the bus stop here. He's going to try and maybe hold it tight and get a switchback and a better exit out of the corner. No, he's lost a little bit of traction there on the exit, which is going to allow Whittle to come through, and Crimson there is looking to maybe shape a move down the inside there. Really late move there by Crimson down the inside at turn 1, being sort of let through there by Weidman. Really not his fight too much, as the car ahead obviously is in the higher class, and he's going to really use Quinton there for a slipstream down the main straight, although going very slowly. It's really, I believe, teammate on teammate contact there between Feldman and Brakua. Some very interesting names in this split two list. I did not read through the championship standings beforehand as I was looking to get home. It's going to be a very long night as Ryan Gibbons sets in my ear as we see Matt Stevens there for the RBMS boys on the back of Ethan Scotty, John.
Yeah, I saw Kevin Boss streaming earlier, and Kevin Boss, of course, being a Dutch native, I literally fired him four Dutch names in his chat of his Twitch stream and said, please pronounce these for me. And he said, you might want to clip these, and I probably wish I did, and maybe send them on to you for a little bit of help. But some fairly simple-ish names tonight, I would say. Nothing too out of the ordinary on that one. But it's amazing how language can read very different, wherever you're from in the world, with accents, pronunciations, etc. What we say in England might be completely different to how it's said over in Holland. But yeah, looked like a jab of the brakes, I would say, going down to Rouge and Radion. Lost a lot of speed on a downhill section, not normally a place where you slow off that much. So maybe thought he was going to run up the back of the RPMS car, and thought, you know what, I'm gonna try and save the splitter, and here's the diffuser, and let's see where this one goes. Got a few more stewards reports coming through. We have an incident on lap 3, turn 1, involving the 63 and the 44. 15 seconds for the 44. 44 takes out the 63, position not given back. We have an incident on lap 3, turn 1, involving the 63 and the 44 again. Warning for the 63 after being taken out. The 63 does not hold the brakes. Incident on lap 3, turn 1, involving the 50 and the 44. Warning for the 44 for an unsafe rejoin by the 44 hitting another car. We then have lap 3, turn 8, involving the 202 and the 909, racing incident, minor contact. We then have incident lap 3, turn 8, involving the 91 and the 280, 5 seconds for car 91. 91 doesn't leave room on the inside and forces the 280 off the track. I believe that could have been Callum Kerwin's incident that we might have seen at Lake Coombe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Incident on lap 3, turn 5, involving the 141 and the 18, deemed a racing incident, minor contact. And an incident on lap 7, turn 1, involving the 810 and the 31, of course deemed a racing incident, minor contact. But nothing yet from the 69 and the 256. So definitely keep your eyes peeled in the chat for those numbers, Callum, and we'll see what the stewards decide on Andy Boardman and Nico Kumpu. But as I was saying before everything kicked off between the two, Monday's calendar has of course come to an end with the Lamborghinis. However, we do have another championship lined up, and this time it's the Euro Masters Season 3. Last time we ran this championship, Wolf Matuszka took overall victory from Jarkko Torvinen, there's a name I've not heard in a while, and Martin Lawrence. With modern variants of each European manufacturer, with the exception being BMW, you have a choice of 2 cars on offer in the form of the M4 and the M6. We have 1 hour sprint races, a traditional mandatory pit stop with 1 litre of fuel required, and at 5 European Championship rounds. Sign-ups open on the 13th of February with pre-qualifying taking place at Barcelona, and I believe round 1 is also taking place at Barcelona. So if GT3 kind of, sounds like it's up your street, and Mondays are a night where you can race, then keep your eyes peeled on the website, where we'll be going back to a much rather variety of cars, should we say, other than single one-make seasons. Tim Ireland, I think, is a bit bored of one-makes, so yeah, maybe they will be coming back later on in the year. Who knows with Tim Ireland and what he decides to watch. Ryan Gilster said he doesn't think Tim's very good in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, so that might be why he's called off the one-makes. But we will see how Tim Ireland does in his new championship, if he does, of course, decide to sign up and race, which normally he does. Apparently, Tim Ireland has retired from the race, I'm being told, so not Tim's night. Despite starting in the pit lane, he has called it a day. And Tim Ireland in the chat says, let's all pretend this race didn't happen. So probably not a good one from Tim there. Yeah, Tim, you did bring this on yourself. Ryan Gill shouting in our ears. You did combine the splits, so you know it's all on your head, I'm afraid. But we do have somebody in the chat that is sorry he's missed the event, but do not fear. Still just under 18 minutes to go, and we still have plenty of action up and down the grid still happening. Matt Stevens and Ethan Scotty and Jonna Racer in this little blockade between the two split two drivers of Drazik and Boodoo. Boodoo still not finding his way up onto the back of Matt Stevens, so not looking like he's going to progress any further towards the front of Drazik. We're still waiting for a incident report from Andy Boardman and Nico Kumpu, still nothing yet. And Tim Ireland's router decided to reboot itself, Callum. So it just went from bad to worse for poor old Tim.
Substantial F moment for Tim. Yeah, simulated engine failure, obviously by ACC. Just
mechanical failures, IRL.
Maybe it's a targeted DDoSing attempt. We won't say about any events recently that have had
He
that
went there.
By Ryan Gill in my ear, screaming at me, saying for me to not mention it. So I will jump back and mention some of the championship battles that we've got going on in the pro and the AM status. Currently, it looks like, I believe, let me scroll up and have another look. Vincent Vaishnov here, still on class to win the pro standings here. Obviously, Jose Jimenez currently in first place, but not attending this round. Believe he's signed out of this one for us. So Vincent Vaishnov here looking in a good stead to take that class win overall in the championship. Now, obviously, Romaniuk is the car behind only by 28 points. However, obviously, Romaniuk behind on the road. As we see Kingston Lee defending down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. And still, Boodoo, even though he's dropped quite a bit further behind Drazik in this race, still looks good to take the AM title here. Currently, again, 11 points ahead of his next closest competitor, which is Dos Ramos, who is currently struggling down in 18th overall and 4th place in the AM standings here. So he's going to struggle to make any ground there on the championship points in total. So championship may be decided already for both classes, maybe not. I may have just commentated cursed it and cost somebody a very well-deserved championship win. However, this race is still up for grabs here as we see Kingston Lee really going at, I believe that's Roscam ahead, obviously with Cal behind in the Cal sort of camo livery coloured car. And one of the line, is the Roscam ahead of the Lion Bar car, and the two very distinctive red stripes on the front. Cal at the back of this grid with a 5-second penalty, however, so it's still going to be having to gap these guys. Maybe if they battle, he can look to make the most of getting ahead if there's any contact made between these guys. As I say that, there is a little bit of door banging as Kingston Lee tries to dive down the outside in through Les Fagnes, and not quite making it work there. Cal licking his lips in the back of this pack, and Kingston Lee really overdriving the car into the gravel there, so Cal's going to have a really good run down in through Blanchimont, and Kingston Lee's going to have to go defensive as Ross goes very wide on the exit of Paul Frere there coming down towards Blanchimont, and maybe a track limits warning there for him, John.
Yeah, MKL really overdriving that yellow Lamborghini. Just when you were mentioning last time out when they passed through the bus stop, Matthew Kingston Lee massively outbraked himself, nearly didn't even draw up in time before he hit the back of somebody very closely indeed. But now on the defensive, as you say, Cal behind, looking to try and capitalise on the back. Of course, a 5-second penalty will shuffle him way down behind Tom Shipston. So if Cal doesn't get a move on and clear these two guys in the next 14 minutes or so, could find himself losing positions just through that time penalty. And Manzo and Dos Ramos looking at the gap between those two guys for the bottom step of the split 2 podium. On time wise anyway, it looks very, very similar to what we're seeing here with Matthew Kingston Lee and Cal both towing each other up to the top of Radion. Cal all over the inside curve. That's surely going to be another track cut limit warning on that one, but MKL going to have to go on the defensive, and he does, runs it to the right hand side. Cal forces his hand to the outside, looks like he's already got the overlap done done. He has before the braking zone of Les Combes. And can he draw it up in time? He looks like he outbrakes himself over the speed hump on the inside. And Cal says, you know what, fair enough, I messed up. That's all your position to have. So back past MKL goes, but Cal is going to be on the attack again. And he knows now where Matthew Kingston-Lee could potentially be the weakest. And it looks like it's down the Kemmel straight. Possibly Matthew Kingston-Lee with a higher wing rate than Cal's car, maybe, Callum.
Yeah, maybe. Just to jump back towards the stewards channel here, looking for that incident report between the 256 and the 69.
I see it.
Racing incident, minor contact there. So the stewards not wanting to get in the way of Nico Kumpu and Andy Boardman's race here, as Boardman still a couple of seconds off the back of Nico Kumpu, as we can see on the live timings on the left-hand side of your screen. So stewards deciding nothing doing there, maybe a bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. One of the RPMS boys there, I believe Stevens, really getting close up behind the back of John Eraser here. As we know, a very spirited defender, quite a reputation from that Brands Hatch race, all held up in a little bit of a train behind your AM-class leader, Drizik, there in 7th place overall. So someone who will probably be looking towards the top of the pro split next season, maybe if he's looking towards that GT3 Euros Masters opportunity. As we see Stevens running out wide, also trying to defend from Ethan Scotty. Is he going to have a look down the inside of the bus stop? He's showing his nose and has left the space there by Eraser. Eraser just taking the naturally defensive line, and that's put Ethan Scotty in with a chance of trying to move down into the first corner at La Source here. So is he going to try to dive down the inside? Very easy place to. No, he holds back, and Matt Stevens nearly creaming through the back of John Eraser, very, very late on the brakes down there. Again, he's given him a pretty poor run there, through down the hill, coming up to Eau Rouge and Radion at the top of the Kemmel Straight there. So maybe Matt Stevens trying to overdrive the car a little bit to not only defend from behind, but attack in front at the same time here. And we'll see, will he be able to defend? He's going to have a bit of a slipstream from the car in front. However, Scotty tucked right up underneath the rear wing of that lift. Jinks to the left, right before having to jink back to the left again. He's going to try it down the outside here. Is there going to be any door-to-door contact? We've seen quite a bit of that. No. Matt Stevens just takes the natural racing line and manages to shut Ethan Scotty out. It's quite hard to overtake down the outside to that corner, so Stevens placing the car perfectly there.
Yeah, nice defensive driving there from Matt Stevens of the RPMS Sim Sport. I think these guys are probably not expecting the tyres to have fallen off maybe as hard as they have. Temperatures typically this season have been a lot cooler than tonight. Probably one of the hottest rounds with 26 air temperature and 29 on the track. Of course, 10 to 6 in-game time means the sun is, of course, going down, so the circuit will get slightly cooler. But, I mean, it's a lot warmer than what we had at Brands Hatch, and Matt Stevens there nailing the throttle through pull and refusing to lift off, and drags himself wide as a result, but really charging on to the back of John Eraser, really trying to make that Lamborghini work. And you can see how much he's wrestling the car on the weight transition through the 2 turns there, down now into Stavolo. We saw John Eraser clipping the inside curb last lap, getting a little bit squirrely, but keeps it off it this time. Probably a bit paranoid. He's gonna maybe do it again and drop the car. But Dos Ramos still in the fight with Manzo, and Les Stevenson, very own RCI staff member, is just ahead of these two guys as well. So Manzo's going to want to get past Stevenson so he can put one car between himself and Dos Ramos for the championship points. Obviously the 222, the RPMS SimSport car just ahead there, riding on board now with the 469 Playmobil car. What a great toy Playmobil was back in the day. Very reminiscent of my childhood right now. But they both run wide. Sorry, Callum.
Playmobil and Lego, the 2 toys of the childhood, I believe.
Oh yes, definitely Lego as well. Lego still is for Ryan Gill.
Yeah. Brilliant. Me as well, to be fair, not gonna lie.
Yeah, Lego do some awesome stuff right now. Many of GT cars as well. So yeah, check it out if you're interested in building your own GT machinery. Ryan Gill with a Lego spoiler, maybe LMDH coming soon, TM. But we will see what Lego has in the pipeline for the new sports cars. But Dos Ramos still behind Manzo as they now run down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Les Stevenson ahead is going to be providing Manzo with a little bit of a tow. Dos Ramos is probably going to be getting a tiny bit off the back of Manzo. Both drivers over the inside curve there. Very weird kind of cut detection. It's very hard sometimes to eyeball whether somebody's made the cut or not. But I'm very surprised that I don't think we've seen a drive-through tonight commentator's curse once again, Callum. From track limits, it's all been 5 seconds, 10 seconds for contact and kind of overly driving cars into each other.
Yeah, I'm quickly going to have a little scroll down here. There's a couple of 5-second penalties and some 15-second ones for some of the guys down towards the back of the grid. Foster and Crombie both got 15-second penalties, but no drive-through penalties, I believe, for track limits, which is quite a rare sight in our races, as Venci Rationov currently leading the race ahead of Romagno. So maybe a problem there for Lopez Garcia, currently down in 4th place. He was leading, I believe, or was it someone else who's...
Marquez was leading, Pedro Marquez, but nowhere to be found in the top 10. So not sure what happened to Marquez, but Rationov is now your provisional race leader, with Romagno in 2nd and Nico Kumpu promoted up to 3rd, and Andy Boardman now on the comeback on Lopez Garcia after the tangling with Nico Kumpu. He's going to want to try and get past as much as he can to charge onto the back of Nico Kumpu and round the outside of the first part of the bus stop. But of course Lopez Garcia is going to have the old switchback line, but it does put him on the outside for the La Source hairpin, as two drivers side by side, lots of space between him, could park a few more Lamborghinis in there. Andy Boardman runs himself in a little bit deep, and Lopez Garcia back up the inside onto the switchback again, side by side now, down past the GT pits, side by side into Eau Rouge and Radion. We've seen it work before in British GT in real life, but not working here. Big twitch from Andy Boardman as he flicks the car right over the hill, and both drivers come out unscathed, and Lopez Garcia is going to be in the wake of Andy Boardman now, ready for a tow-in up the up the Kemmel Straight towards Lacoon. We've seen the slipstream has really played a part here at Spa. We didn't see it so much at Monza or any of the other rounds, but definitely here at Spa, as Garcia can't unfortunately make the outside line work into Lacoon. But I think this battle is still going to be on for the next 6 minutes. I don't think Boardman is going to get near Kumpu.
I'm currently trying to investigate here where Marquez has gone, John. He's completely, as I see, I believe it's a disconnect. I can't see him anywhere on the timing boards, and he's offline on Discord. So I believe it may be an internet issue for Marquez. Not seeing anything in any of the racing incidents to deem that he's had any damage causing him to retire. So maybe doing a Tim Island, and actually we're just getting a live thing in from Marquez himself. A GPU driver crash, unfortunately causing him to have to retire from the race there. So different kind of mechanical failure to what we're used to seeing, John, there for Marquez. Running a really clean race, really far out in front. A real big shame for him for the last round of the season. Hopefully we'll see him back on another Monday Night Championship, as you said, for the Euro Masters. Season 3 will be coming up soon, so keep your eyes out for the sign-up for that opening up very, very shortly here at RCI, as we see the final 5 minutes of this race of Lopez Garcia is still going on at the back of Andy Boardman on my screen, as I'm looking for, as we cut back to Stevens and Drzyk battling here for 6th place. Obviously Drzyk taking that currently in the AM class lead here, and Stevens looking to get past, maybe to try and have a stab at Lopez Garcia. He'd have to make an awful lot of time up in the last couple of laps though to gain any more pro class positions. However, as I'm hearing in my ear from Ryan Gill, he put cars in between himself and Scotty and Orator, who are currently trying to chase him down. Maybe could work together a little bit, give each other a bit of a slipstream as car going very slowly there of Drzyk into the last hairpin. Maybe trying to let the car head through, maybe just misjudging his braking point. Stevens right up the back now, going up towards the Kemmel Straight. Up they climb through Rouge on Radion. I will back John up from his earlier point, as this is a much steeper hill than it seems to roll off. Really cutting the inside curb there. Don't know how we haven't had a track limit warning for a drive-through there for any of the cars since. Maybe check the server settings, see if that's turned off by accident by one of the RCI admins. Really, Stevens really good on the brakes there, and forcing Drzyk to outbrake himself there. So Stevens looked like he's going through, and Scotty now trying to pounce on that, not wanting to let Stevens get too far ahead with only 3.5 minutes to go. So a couple more laps here of Spa for your leader, Venci Rationov, who's got quite a nice gap of 9.8 seconds there to Romagno in 2nd place. And really here, this looks like one of the tightest battles we've got. As I'm looking down the scoreboard, we've got Cal and Roskam here with 2 10s in each other as well. Obviously, Cal though with a 5-second penalty, so that's going to drop him down the order here. This though really is the tightest battle on circuit here for 6th place overall, as we see Drizik is actually dropped behind Stevens, so the scoreboard's still yet to update as they run through the sectors there. Drizik, Scotty running quite wide there, maybe trying to get a line on Drizik. He's going to let the racer into the battle between the two of them, as we're still watching Stevens here running, trying to really bridge that gap away from Drizik. There we go, the timing screen's finally updating. 7 tenths he's managed to pull, so that's 7 more tenths that Ethan Scotty's got to find his way up to try and make a move on Stevens, but he's still got to get past Drizik, who is, as we said earlier, in no obligation to move out of the way of any of these guys here, and I wouldn't want to, because right at the back of this group of 4 or 5 cars is Voodoo here, so he's made up some really, really good pace on the last few laps to potentially put himself in a position for a move, depending on if there's an issue ahead, as we see Scotty's car really losing the rear end there at the second apex of the bus stop here, and Stevens going down into turn 1.
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers' tyres are going to be crying out. I think Drizik is probably just driving in his mirrors, seeing the wake of the split one guy is coming in. Of course, Stevens very fired up and hot on the brakes up into Lake Coombe, almost kind of forced Drizik's hand to kind of move, essentially. And of course, this man here, Tudor Boodoo, is going to be setting to gain slightly if he can find his way past John Aracer, and he goes very wide indeed, straight over the top of Radion. No drive-through penalty yet has popped up on the board, so I think he's just about safe, but be very, very careful, because the last thing you want is, of course, that drive-through penalty. A racer goes on the defensive, tries to break the slipstream, and now Cal is coming up the inside of Boodoo. Very close indeed, a slight rub. I think Boodoo just about managed to catch it. Cal, of course, with the 5 seconds, is going to try to gain as much as he can. He's got 2.2 seconds to the good behind on Roskam, so of course, +5 would shove him somewhere around Tom Shipston, just behind Matthew Kingston-Lee. So any positions and any time to be had will be had indeed. And looking to the track map, the number 24 is just beginning the climb up towards Blanchimont. So we're going to go for one more lap after this. 55 seconds on the clock, of course. Once the clock hits 0, the next lap around is a checkered flag, essentially. And the gap between Rashanov and Romaniuk is absolutely huge. Rashanov driven away, unfortunately, from Pedro Marquez's disconnect, something we don't want anybody to of course experience in ACC, but unfortunately sometimes hardware does just let you down, which isn't the best. And you know, if you practiced all week, you practiced for a few days, you've certainly dumped a few fair hours into this, and to be defeated, you know, even turn 1 incidents can, you know, spell the end of a race. So very unfortunate indeed. But hopefully, Pedro Marquez, if you're still watching, we would love to see you back in Split 1 of Euromasters, if you can, of course, get there. And I'm sure with the pace you've displayed in the Super Trofeo, that should be no problem for yourself. But Drizik, as you said, Callum, earlier on in the broadcast, possibly looking like maybe a Split 1 contender with the time he's been putting in. He's definitely shown his hand to the Split 1 guys. And, you know, certainly Tom Shipston did it from the British Masters, won the Silver Championship. Next time out, found himself in Pro. So, you know, there is room for progression here at RCI. And if you do want to take part in any of our events, you can, of course, head on over to racerci.com and sign up and pre-qualify if required at all for any of these events at any time. So get yourself on over, check on what we have to offer. iRacing being a big part of this year, as well as our paid esports championship. So all eyes on that one. As Matthew Kingston-Lee now, speaking of Tom Shipston, finds himself just behind, or sorry, Tom Shipston just behind him, coming up the Kemmel Straight into the Lake Coombe section, and not sure if Shipston has got enough in him to get near Matthew Kingston-Lee, although a big mistake there into Lake Coombe. Matthew Kingston-Lee outbrakes himself, big slide, and allows Tom Shipston right up onto the back fin. But as your clock hits 0, this man here, Venti Rashanov, for the Madness team, the number 24 Super Trofeo Evo, once again proving why he is in Split 1. Absolute solid drive, you know, couldn't quite catch Marquez, and I'm sure if Marquez's GPU driver held out, out, I'm sure Marquez would be on the top step of that podium. But Vensy Rachinov has lucked out this time and finds himself on the top step. Looks like he's going a little bit slow. Not sure if he's saving any fuel to try and get to the end. Of course, no pit lane refueling tonight. So, you know, if you run out coming into the bus stop, that is it, my friend. You have run out, unfortunately. And somebody is parked here. Ryan Gill spotted. Daniel Crinson has spotted parking next to the flagman, waving a yellow, waving a green. Vensy Rachinov goes across the line to take your victory at Spa-Francorchamps. And Daniel Crinson possibly loitering. I think he might have run out of fuel, Ryan Gill says. Just crossed the line, straight back to the pit lane, so at least took the checkered flag. But congratulations to Vensy Rachinov. Of course, the British Masters Pro Champion, and quite potentially, once the standings have figured themselves out, maybe even Super Trofeo Evo 2 champion. As the fireworks go off in the day, this battle has finally come to an end. Drizek holds off to be your Split 2 winner, followed by Ethan Scotty and John Eraser. Two very big names, very regular names at RCI. So we see a little bit of skittles going on. Cars parked everywhere, Lambos flying left and right. Of course, all in good jest. I hope none of them were holding on to a direct drive wheel, because that might have been a little bit lethal for the thumbs. We, of course, do have some 5-second penalties to serve, to hand out. So, of course, as we go down the list, I was expecting a unique stunt jump then from Rachinov, but those bumps not as savage as I seem to remember them in my head. As the top 20 cross the line, we of course flick on over to wait for the final results. But that is that, Callum. That has wound up a great season.
Yeah, Monday night season. I believe, obviously, pending any post-race penalties and anything like that, I can announce that Vensy Rachinov looks like he's going to be the champion of the Pro class, closely followed by Adam Romaniuk, and I believe Pedro Marquez will have pipped Andy. Oh no, obviously Pedro Marquez with that disconnect. He would have pipped Andy Boardman and potentially Romaniuk to second place. However, that disconnect costing him dearly, so Boardman probably most likely finishing in third place. And looking down into the AM standings, it's going to be a AM class win in the championship for Boodoo. Obviously, with Drizek winning that race, he was too far behind to close it. The gap, Boodoo with that second place is all that he needed, as we're still waiting for those standings to come up. But I believe that is how we're going to finish in the championship, obviously pending any post-race penalties and stewards' inquiries that can obviously go on in the next few days. I believe drivers have up until tonight to submit them, as we cut on to the final time running through John Dalton, the race standings.
It's a long old list, so let's start from the top. Vensy Rachinov takes your victory here at Spa from Nico Kumpu and Adam Romaniuk in third. Andy Boardman comes in fourth. Lopez Garcia fifth. Matt Stevens, very own RPMS. We got Rich, I believe, in the chat, so congratulations to Matt for P6. Drazek, the first of your AM drivers tonight in P7. Ethan Scotty, John Eraser, Split, Boodoo and himself in P2. For what is essentially split 2, with Roscam, Kingston Lee, Shipston, Cal, Les Stevenson, then splitting Dos Ramos to the bottom step of the podium. Ricciardo, Martinez, Manzo, and Schumann round out your top 20. Carmona, Martin Broikers in 21st and 22nd. Waiting for Ryan Gill to scroll down the board. Ryan Gill, are you there? Thank you. And then we've got Daniel Montero, Matthias Thornbird, Richard Whittle, Callum Kerrigan, Farian in 27th, Keith Whittle in 28th, Kevin Boss, very in RCI, in 29th, Foster 30th, Crinson 31st, Charlotte Robertson, big improvement there, into 32nd, Fukushio 33rd, Combine in P34, and the first of our DNFs with Marquez. Of course, fastest lap to Pedro Marquez, so kudos for that one. Your own Weidemann in 36th, Tim Ireland in 37th, Aguero in P38, Owen in 39th, Hogeveen in 40th, and unfortunately RPMS Richard Phillips dead last in 41st of your non finishers. And that rounds up tonight's, of course, final event here at RCI Mondays. Our Lamborghini Super Trofeo Cup is over. Results will be, of course, posted fully on the website once all stewards' inquiries have been closed. And if you head on over to... We have provisional championships, I'm being told in my ear. We do have, of course, announced in the Discord. I've noticed the Monday's calendar new event is up, thanks to Tim Ireland, who's finished early, so he's been able to announce that a little bit earlier than he was maybe expecting. And of course, Euromasters Season 3. So basically, European GT cars tour around Europe. You have two choices of the BMW on the M4 and the M6, but every other manufacturer is fielding just one entry. Sign-ups open today, luckily, with pre-qualifying taking place at Barcelona. First round also taking place at Barcelona. And this is how your pro standings have finished tonight. So Venti Rationov beats Jose Jimenez to the top spot. Adam Romagna claims the bottom spot in third. Andy Boardman in P4, not too far off Romagna. So had Nico Kumpu not been the kind of shoe in that fight, could have well been Andy Boardman in third. Pedro Marquez in fifth. Matt Stevens, RPMS, shout out to those guys again, in sixth. Ethan Scotty in seventh. Tom Shipston, great finish in the end, P8. Matthew Kingston Lee in P9. And John Eraser rounds out your top 10 on that one. As we flick to page 2, Lopez Garcia for 106 points in 11th. Ross Cam not too far behind with 102. Carlos Frau, who wasn't here tonight, with 99. Benjamin Schumann just about missing out with 97. Nico Kumpu, 94. Big haul of points in the last round. Les Stevenson finishes on 69 points. Nice. Matthias Thornberg with 66. Martinez and Crimson, Battle of the Daniels, both 57 points apiece. And Marco Fucuscio with 48. And that rounds out your top 20 in pro. And finally, Sammy Cow with 45. Matteo Schmid, who only turned up for one round, I believe, with 44. Richard Phillips with 32. Carlos Calatayud, last time I'm saying that name this season, with 30. Luke Crofts with 20. Bailey Collins with 18. And Adrian Carmona, who only had one round once again at Spa, finished with 15 points. Everybody else has unfortunately signed out. And yeah, it comes to that time of the broadcast where we have a message from our partners. And some of you eagle-eyed people in the bottom left-hand corner may have noticed a couple of new logos cycling throughout tonight. So we head on over first to AK Esports, the leading Italian company in esports management and organization across the world. Founded in 2009 as an IT company and establishing itself as a point of reference in the hardware sector, 2018 debuted their first official Porsche Esports Championship, and since then has found success with the SRO Motorsports Group and Dallara, among many other brands, including providing our server solutions here at RCI. Check out their website in the description below. Driver61.com. You can, of course, get 25% off your driver coaching by using our discount code with a link in the description below and heading on over to driver61.com. From one-on-one coaching to full driving courses, the folks over at Driver61 will have something that fits your needs, and they have helped thousands hone their skills and discover unknown potential. Find our discount code and a link in the description below. Fanatec, of course, one of the leading brands in dedicated sim racing hardware, including force feedback wheels, direct drive units, pedals, load cells, etc., and much, much more indeed. You can find our RCI affiliate link in the description below, and it won't cost you a single penny, but it does help us here with some of the running costs here at RCI. So if you are looking for some new hardware, be sure to check them out. And our first new sponsor, shall we say, digitalmotorsports.com. Offers a number of products and services, from virtual driving experiences, corporate events, and an early drive program for 13 to 17-year-olds in conjunction with BMW at Mondello Park. Esports championships, driver training, simulator components, and complete sim rig solutions. Founded in 2018 by two enthusiastic motorsport fans, they had a vision to create Ireland's leading digital motorsport environment and resources. You can, of course, check out their website in the description below and check out what they are offering in their store. And finally, Go Setups, formed to be one of the premium esports setup stores for Assetto Corsa Competizione. Their primary aim was to create setups for all skill levels, whether you are esports ready or looking for a safer alternative for your favorite car. Featuring a plethora of esports stars on their team, you can be sure the setup you choose has extensive hours behind it. And check out the description for a link to their store below. And remember, you can also check out RCI on all of our links, again, in the description below, including Discord, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where you can find out all the exciting stuff that goes on behind the scenes here at RCI, such as our esports teams following. So we have Drazik in the chat saying massive sweat. A big shill section there.
What a shill. That's the only way to round out a Monday night championship. Is with
no shame.
The possible shill there from
no shame.
Shillington there.
69 out of 69 from Ryan Gill, which is great to hear. But yeah, that is the last time for now that I will be shilling on Mondays. And of course, we do have our Friday championship being streamed here at RCI TV. So if you are curious to see those boys duke it out, then be sure to come back on Friday around about the same time. We always put up a pre-stream with a time slot before we do go live, so keep your eye in the sub box for that one. But it's been a wonderful championship, Callum, from fights up and down the grid, from combined splits that wasn't actually that much chaos, and yeah, just everything in between. It's been a great season. Your first season fully casting an event, how do you feel it's gone?
Yeah, first season with RCI is fantastic, fantastic fun. It's a great championship to cast, especially this last race. That combined pro and am split really providing us with quite a lot of action up and down the field to look over. But obviously, Brands being the main highlight, for instance, there with all of the 5-second penalties. And a great championship fight right to the end. Shame we saw obviously Jose Jimenez having to bow out of it, and Verstappen as well earlier on in the season, obviously having to commit to other bigger events for the RCI team in different championships going along. And it's been great fun, and a great way to spend my Monday evenings in a Discord chat with you, listening to shill after shill with Ryan in our ears, screaming whenever we pronounce a name wrong or say Carlos Circuit de Barcelona Qatar. Looking forward to a Euro Masters Championship. Hopefully I'll be allowed back.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a wonderful season here with the one makes once again proving why they are, super fun to A, drive and B, cast, action up and down the grid every single round. But unfortunately, we are going to have to say goodbye to the Lamborghinis and once again bring out the GT3 machinery for Mondays. Of course, pre-qualifying is open for that one. If you are still listening and wanting to take part in that, head on over to racerci.com where you can find all of our events that we're running throughout the year. But it is sadly that time to say our goodbyes. And from myself, John Dalton, from Callum Kerwin alongside me, and from Ryan Gill behind the cameras, and of course all our live stewards and everybody watching at home, it has been a pleasure once again to cast, and we hope to see you back once again on RCI TV for another championship. But for now, we wish you farewell, and we hope you have a good rest of the week. Take care.